Welcome to Crooked History, a CK3 story playthrough. The show that brings you the most unbelievable tales from history, mostly because we're making them up. In this series, we're going to take a closer look at the fictional life of Alfred Ethelwulfson of Dorset, a man who was born for greatness. In the last episode, we left off after Alfred was gravely wounded on the field of Gloucestershire. While convalescing, Alfred left his army under the command of Sir Guntbald, a low-born knight who had proven himself on the field of battle but had never been in command. Military historian retired General Kent gives his analysis of Guntbald.
Listen, being a good soldier is about following orders. It's about doing what your superiors tell you to do. While there is a certain autonomy in the field, ultimately soldiers don't have to concern themselves with the bigger picture. They engage with a man standing in front of them. Generals don't have that luxury. Being a good general is about setting goals and achieving them. It's about leading your army to success. People often compare being a good soldier and a good leader, but the two jobs are completely different. A good soldier is a tool to be used by your commander. A good leader is someone who has a plan and is able to execute it. Guntbald is a perfect example that being a good soldier isn't enough. He approached the enemy army as if it was just another soldier standing directly in front of him.
Guntbald engaged with Halfdan at the Battle of Leicestershire. Despite having a numerical advantage, Guntbald was no equal to Halfdan on the battlefield. The battle lasted a full week, each day bloodier than the last. It was during this time Halfdan Whiteshirt struck, declaring war for East Seax. The Norsemen smelled blood in the water and were intent on capitalizing. News had reached Halfdan that Alfred had died from his wounds. Celebrating a bit prematurely, Halfdan sent a letter to Halfdan.
I'm pleased to report that our plans to dismantle the British Isles are proceeding as planned. Our forces are growing stronger by the day, and I have no doubt that we will soon achieve our goal of conquering this land. The British Isles have long been a thorn in the side of our people. Their armies have marched against us time and time again, and their petty kingdoms have constantly stood in the way of our expansion. But no longer. Together, you and I will tear down their walls, split their skulls, and feast upon their riches like the lords we are. Our forces have already made great progress. We have captured several key cities, slain countless enemies, and secured a foothold on this foreign soil. Our warriors are fierce and battle-tested, and our ships ride the waves like the fiercest of sea monsters. And with the death of Alfred, nothing stands in our way. Fear not, my friend. Our victory is assured. We will triumph over our enemies and carve out a new kingdom for ourselves in this land of cowards and halfmen. I look forward to sharing a horn of mead with you in the smoking ruins of a conquered city. Yours in victory, Halfdan.
In the retreat, Guntbald stumbled into an ambush at Christchurch, where Jarl Bjorn had landed to sack the holy site. By January of 873, Alfred was learning how to navigate his handicaps. During this rehabilitation, Bogdana, a nurse, professed her love for the wounded king. We know this because of a record of Queen Eahlswith putting the young nurse in her place, politely but firmly. From the written records, it is evident that by all accounts, Alfred and Eahlswith had no secrets. By September, Alfred had relieved Guntbald and retaken the lead of his army. Alfred's daughter Bleia wrote in her journal the day her father departed.
Today was a difficult day for me and my family. My father, King Alfred, has returned to the war even though he is still recovering from his wounds. My sister, Violet, and my mother, Eahlswith, were devastated by the news. We all knew that he would have to lead us back into battle eventually, but the thought of him going off to fight and potentially not returning home filled us with fear. It feels like it was only yesterday that my father was lying in his sickbed, his body racked with fever and his mind consumed by the burden of his responsibilities. We were also relieved when he started to recover, but now it seems that his time of rest has been cut short by the war. I can see the sorrow in my mother's eyes as she watches my father depart. She knows the danger that lies ahead and fears for his safety just as much as Violet and I do. It hurts me to see her like this, so afraid for the man she loves and the father of her children. As I watched my father ride away, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sorrow and foreboding. I know that he is a strong and capable leader, but the thought of him facing the enemy once again fills me with an unease that is hard to shake. I pray for my father's safety every night, and I ask that the gods watch over him and protect him on the battlefield. I hope that he will return home to my mother, my sister, and I safe and sound, so that we can be a family once again. but for now we must endure the emptiness and sorrow that fills our lives in his absence, and pray that he will make it back to us unharmed.
Rejoining the army in Buckingham. While on campaign, Eahlswith took over the day-to-day running of the kingdom. She took an active role in stewarding the land. Without her guidance, it is possible Wessex would be a name quickly forgotten to history. This was an era that wasn't kind to strong women. Eahlswith wrote her feelings in a letter to Alfred.
I hope this letter finds you well and that you are recovering from your wounds. I'm sorry to disturb your rest, but there is something I need to discuss with you, something that has been weighing heavily on my mind. Some of the men in the kingdom are having trouble taking orders from a woman. They dismiss my commands, they refuse to listen to my counsel, and they belittle my abilities as a ruler. I know that you have always trusted me to take care of things in your absence, but it is clear that some of our people still struggle to accept a woman as their leader. It is frustrating, but it only serves to make me more determined to prove myself. I may not have the same battle experience as you, my love, but I have been ruling by your side for many years now. I have learnt from your wisdom, I have stood by your side through the darkest of times, and I have never wavered in my loyalty to you. Just because I am a woman, it doesn't mean that I am weak or incapable. You know better than anyone just how strong I am. You know that I will never give up on our people, no matter how challenging the circumstances may be. So please, do not worry about me. I will continue to guide and protect our kingdom in your absence, no matter what obstacles I may face. Our people may have trouble accepting me as their leader, but I will never let that stop me from doing what needs to be done. Take care of yourself, my love, and know that I am always here for you, just as you are always here for me. With all my love, your beloved.
Alfred, again proving his long-term vision, ceded East Seax to Halfdan, allowing him to focus on Haystein. Mercia handled most of the heavy lifting and ironed out a peace with Haystein, and with that peace came another assault from Halfdan, this time on Mercia. Alfred was ready for revenge. At this point, Alfred had been at war for nearly a decade. On the 8th of June, the combined forces of Mercia and Wessex faced down Halfdan at Cambridgeshire. After this battle, Eahlswith forged an alliance to help keep her husband safe. She arranged an alliance betrothal with the King of Alba, which would prove pivotal in the coming days. The Norsemen were not known for the willingness to cultivate the land and be good neighbours. So it wasn't much of a surprise when Halfdan and Montague declared war again. It was now the new year 878, and Alfred had been in the saddle fighting the northern menace for a decade. As Halfdan set his sights on Hampshire, Alfred waited, allowed his men time to recuperate, and then struck out. Alfred was surprised by his wife's negotiations, as Alba arrived with a massive force, doubling Alfred's army. Alfred was effusive with his praise of his wife in a letter he sent the morning after the battle.
My dearest Eahlswith, I hope this letter finds you and our children well. I write to you now with great news. We have defeated Haystein and his men, thanks to a surprise alliance that you worked so hard to secure. Our forces were vastly outnumbered on the battlefield, and it seemed as though all was lost. But then, as you know, our allies from Alba, led by their king, marched alongside us and helped us to secure a glorious victory. I will never forget how proud I felt to see our warriors fight alongside those from Alba, united in our quest to defend our lands and people. The tactics and bravery of our men, combined with the support of our newfound allies, resulted in an overwhelming triumph over the army of Haystein. I cannot fully express my gratitude to you, my love, for negotiating this alliance. Thanks to your diplomacy and leadership, we were able to form a powerful new bond with our neighbours, one that will surely strengthen our kingdom for years to come. Alba lived up to their promise, and I believe we can expect more opportunities for cooperation and alliances in the future. Our kingdom is stronger today than ever before, and it is due in no small part to your leadership and dedication. I can't wait to return home and embrace you and our children. I look forward to sharing stories of our victories and basking in the warmth of our family amidst these changing times. With all of my love.
A month later, Alfred set about retaking Oxford. With Alba's help, they managed to trap Haystein's army in Kettering. Scouts brought news that Halfdan had joined to support Hastine's war and was moving his armies near Lincolnshire. Without hesitation, Alfred marched to meet him. On the 20th of October in the year of our Lord 879, they met at the Battle of Norman Cross. The battle was hard fought by both sides, but Alfred's army now outnumbered the Norse during the retreat. Halfdan was captured. The next day, Alfred had him burned at the stake. Realizing he was losing the war, Hastine charged directly for Dorset, and the one thing Alfred cared about more than anything, his family. With Alba's army at his side, Alfred destroyed Hastine's invading force. It has gone down in history as the slaughter at Lyme. His next move was to finish off Ragnar Halfdanson's army. In September of 882, Montague and Ragnar sued for peace. Alfred had been at war for 14 years, but Wessex was finally at peace. One of his first duties upon arriving home was to declare Sinnehelm, one of his most loyal knights, the head knight of the king's retinue. Happy to be home, Alfred knew the wars weren't over. He had lost territory to Halfdan, which was now held by his son. That land would be back in Wessex hands, or Alfred would die trying. And that's it for today's episode of A Crooked History, The Kings Who Never Were Wessex edition. We're exploring the life of Alfred Athelwulfson of Dorset, the King of Wessex. Join us next week as we take a closer look at Alfred's eventful life in relative peace. But even with the death of Halfdan, Alfred's fight with the northern menace was far from over. Alfred turned his attention towards solidifying the kingdom.